Hey, everybody, good evening. Welcome to the show tonight. It's Wednesday and kind of a tiring one, and I'll get into that in a minute. But welcome to the show. My name's Stuart Davis. I'm a relative nobody. I'm a deacon at a small church that's outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor, not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. The purpose of this channel, the purpose of what I do here is to offer you insight. If you are interested in starting a relationship with Christ and you were curious about it. Maybe you were a Christian at some point, but you never took it seriously and you kind of drifted away. And you're wondering if there's more of a point to your existence than ever, or if you're looking for, something that inside you is calling out. I'm here to tell you, it's Christ, it's God, it's the Holy Spirit reaching out to you, and he wants you to learn more. He wants you to start a relationship with Him. So, with that encouragement in mind, welcome to the program. I'm happy to have you here, and I'll do whatever I can to help give you just some insights in what I think is Christianity as I've seen it. I've been a Christian all my life, and I have a cat here who's not supposed to be. Get. Come on, not right now. Been a Christian all my life, and I've dealt with um, all the things that come throughout my life, and dealt with it with an eye on God as my Lord, Christ as my Savior, and the Holy Spirit that lives in me. With that said, if you are just joining because you like to hear people talk about God, this channel is also for you. This channel is focusing around God and Christians and how we deal with things throughout our normal day-to-day life. By all means, if you've got something you want to say, chat. Put it in the chat. I will read it to you. I do not have very many people in the chat. We did actually have Morning Fig. We did actually have a very active chat last night, and that's kind of why, well, not because we had an active chat, but Tuesday stream is kind of why I'm a little just a little wore out today. The streams with Eric are always very, very energetic. Eric, if you have not checked out him before, you can look back on my channel, and he comes on every other week on Tuesday nights, and he is full of energy, as I am as well. So you get us both together talking, and we go for a couple hours or so, and it's just afterwards. I'm kind of hyped up, kind of pumped up about it. I need that some time to just you know uh, reset before I can even get to bed and even get some rest. And that's why the Wednesday streams afterwards are always kind of one that I've got to man up and get into. But I'm looking forward to what we have to talk about tonight. So tonight we get back into numbers, and we are going to be set with a little bit of dryness. We thought we've gotten past a lot of the more legalistic and ritualistic aspects of Leviticus and Numbers. Um, there's going to be some addressing of supplementary offerings, making up for sins that you don't that are unintentional, which they've addressed before. There's a little bit of repetitiveness here, but what we're going to talk about on the second part is more along the lines of what we see it happening on the second half of Numbers, which is people rebelling against Moses. Because of course they do, because that's what the Israelites truly do, and how they do it in a very obvious manner. And it's something that I have difficulty reconciling with in my brain, that if God is literally there with you and you don't, it requires very little faith to understand the instructions that are given to you. At the same time, they so often represent things that we do in our own lives, and I'm no stranger to that. And that's why I always kind of have to take a step back sometimes, and realize it's like, well, yeah, they're obviously blatantly disrespecting God, but how often in my life do I do that? Pretty often. Pretty often. Every time I get angry with something, you can talk about gossip. You can talk about all the things that are done um, out of malice, intentional or unintentional. Sometimes you have malicious acts that you commit that you're not really doing because you planned it out, but you just kind of react that way, or you don't realize that you're doing something that's not out of love. And oftentimes we are. we are committing that. And that's not to say that I'm not saying that as a condemnation. I mean, it's something that we do wrong. It's condemnation in a way, but as Christians, we understand that Jesus got on was put on that cross, and he didn't have to. He came down on this earth with a specific plan in mind, and that intent was to fulfill prophecy, establish a new covenant with us that went beyond just the Jews, and he died for our sins so that we can be flawed people. We can be people that struggle and screw up, and we have an advocate. We have an advocate when we are brought to judgment, and Christ can put his hand on our shoulder and say, "I got you. I got this guy. He knows me. He loves me." And yeah, he had some rough patches, and no, he wasn't perfect, but I think he'll fit in here in heaven with us. And if that's what you're looking for, there it's not an easy path. It's not just going in there. It's as easy as saying follow Christ and do what is asked of you, be baptized and honor him in all the things you do, and love other people as you love yourself, as you love God. But that's one of those things that's much easier said or read than done. So that's way off the beaten path from talking about what we're talking about here. But Israelites are famous in the Old Testament for rebelling against God, and we've seen some of it before, and we're going to get into some of it today. And there's going to be some old school godly justice getting broken out. I believe, if I remember this account correctly, but we'll find out. Like I said, I'm not the best when it comes to memory verses. I don't know exactly what happens sometimes, but that's part of the good thing about one of the things I enjoy about doing these biblical read throughs. And again, if you are here, or if you read this, or if you watch this after the fact and it's not live, and something strikes you as something I said that maybe I missed, or something that strikes you in a different way, or whatever, by all means, put your 2 cents in. That's part of why I'm doing this, is to kind of get other people's reactions out of things as well. How does an event that you read um, in the Bible affect you? How does it speak to you? Because it does affect us all differently. We are different people with different personalities, and sometimes we can pick apart different things um, that somebody else may not have caught. And I find that great. And if you're not a person who's been a part of a life group, or been part of Sunday school, or a fellowship in church, where you're actually studying with a small group of people, and really just getting ideas and talking through things. um, to me, that's where I get fed spiritually. Some people get it through praise and worship. Some people get it through the sermon. Some people get it to just diving in and apologetics. I get it through the communion of me and my fellow Christians together, and the community that we create, but the sharing of ideas is so great. And that's one of the things I want to create kind of here. We've got Eric, who brings in a very very good, very wholesome aspect of a non-denominational, which I share. I'm a non-denominational Christian myself. We have Raph, who's come on here before. He's a Roman Catholic. And we had Hans Feeney come on, and he is a Lutheran pastor, and he is hilarious. And I intend to bring on as many people from different um, mainstream denominations as possible. I'm looking out for somebody who can bring me some Methodist points of view, Presbyterian. I'd like to get some Calvinist doctrine talked about. I don't particularly subscribe to Calvinism. It's not something that I find it depressing, a little bit depressing. But I'd love to get somebody on here to really talk to about how being a Presbyterian is, and being a Calvinist, how that really how they reconcile, the predestination side of things. Um, Want to get somebody from Southern Baptist, especially right now with all the stuff going on with Southern Baptism, and just get those different ideas out there, because what I think that we see right now is a fracturing in the church going on that is across denominations, and that was one of the things we talked about just briefly last night. But We have what I call, and what you'll find other people calling, modernization. Modernization going in through the Bible, and or not through the Bible, through across the different denominations, trying to change what the word is, what the word of God says, into something that, um, to placate what modern expectations, modern society says, faith should be all about. That's not the case. We're not here to placate society. We're here to teach society. We're here to reach out to society. We're here to give them the good news that is Christ. But that comes with expectations, and it comes with responsibilities. It comes with a lot of things that seem to go against, uh, what a very decadent society is. And we're talking mostly about Western culture, and that's where you find it. We can pick on the Roman Catholics, um, a lot, because they're the biggest target. I've said it before. The Roman Catholics, they're the biggest target. They get all the news, whenever something goes wrong. But like somebody said, with Roman Catholics specifically, they are people who you can often find very, very wrong in the word, and then you can find some that are very righteous in the word. And that, when you look at the history behind the Roman Catholic Church, and I'm not talking about the medieval times, but I'm talking about, the very early church, where the Orthodoxy and the Catholic Church are still kind of together, kind of split. But when the church is struggling, and it's building its historical base, and where we find all of our as Protestants find our roots coming from, um, they can draw on that very well. The righteous ones are friends, are friends to all Christians, and, though sometimes they can be very judgmental. You'll find that more so in the Orthodoxy. You'll find a lot of that in the Orthodoxy. They got, again, very strong convictions, very knowledgeable in the faith, but, not always as open to Protestant beliefs as possible. With that said, I am thinking about reaching out to a missionary, with some exposure to preaching Protestant, theology, Protestant, and being a Protestant missionary in a area that is mostly Orthodox. But, I will not disclose that too much. I haven't really spoken to him about it. He has got plenty of other things going on to worry about this paltry live stream. Now, with that said, I have belabored this, already into 12 minutes. So let's get into the reading, because we gotta go through some process before we can get into some narrative. That said, let's get it on. Numbers 15, supplementary offerings. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, after you enter the land I am giving you as your home, and you present to the Lord food offerings from the herd or the flock as an aroma pleasing to the Lord." He's talking about food. I just ate, so this isn't making me as hungry as it usually does. Whether burnt offerings or sacrifices, for special vows or free will offerings or festival offerings. Then the person who brings an offering shall present to the Lord a grain offering of a tenth of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with a quarter of a hin of olive oil. With each lamb for the burnt offering or the sacrifice, prepare a quarter of a hin of wine as a drink offering. All right, so we're getting back into these offerings. So again, very legalistic, very ritualistic in how things are done, but specifics. God is very specific about this, and and the Israelites at this point are very good at following specifics. It's the ongoing, it's the constant things that they struggle with, which again, very relatable. With a ram, prepare a grain offering of 2/10 of an ephah for of the finest flour mixed with a third of a hin of olive oil and a third of a hin of the wine as a drink offering. Offer it as an aroma pleasing to the Lord, because it is. When you prepare a young bull as a burnt offering or sacrifice for a special vow or a fellowship offering to the Lord, bring with the bull a grain offering of 3/10 of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with half a hin of olive oil, and also bring half a hin of wine as a drink offering. This will be a food offering, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Each bull or ram, each lamb or young goat is to be prepared in this manner. Do this for everyone, for as many as you prepare. Everyone who is native born must do these things in this way when they present a food offering as an aroma pleasing to the Lord for the generations to come. Whether a foreigner or anyone else living among you presents a food offering as an aroma pleasing to the Lord, they must do exactly as you do. The community is to have the same rules for you and for the foreigner residing among you. This is a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. You and the foreigner shall be the same before the Lord. The same laws and regulations will apply to both of you and to the foreigner residing among you. So we see here is hey, look, we're creating a society, but it's not as insular as we often think the Israelites are, because we know that the Jews at the time of Christ's arrival, they have very, very much cast the Gentiles aside, and not necessarily for without good cause, because they've been in constant battle. But again, as many issues as the Gentiles have, with not being close to God, the Israelites and or the Hebrews or the Jews or whatever you're calling them at this point will have done more damage to God, to their relationship with God, than the Gentiles could. The Israelites, what we'll see, and we'll go through this when we go through it, when Israel is established, and they finally ask for a king. Even before that, but when they finally ask for a king, you get Saul, who screws up big time. You get David, who's awesome, but then screws up big time. But comes back to the faith, redeems himself. Then Solomon, who is amazing, but also can screw up. But then but again, just like his dad, comes back and does some amazing work, um, in writing to people to come after him, and presenting and spreading that wisdom that he is blessed with. And then after that, Israel doesn't have another good ruler. There's a couple more in Judah, but not in Israel. They are consistently dealing with a-holes, a-holes on the throne. So, with that said, let's get back into it. But here, again, back to my original, what I was going with this. But the Israelites here are welcoming people in, right? But the expectation is, hey, you come in and you will be blessed like us, but that means that you have to live like us. If you don't, send them back. Send them back. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you enter the land to which I am taking you, and you eat the food of the land, present a portion as an offering to the Lord. Present a loaf from the first of your ground meal, and present it as an offering from the threshing floor. Throughout the generations to come, you are to give this offering to the Lord from the first of your ground meal." Well, there we go. Again, we're talking about giving thanks. And if you want to pull this all the way back to Cain and Abel, there you go. You're giving the best to God. You're offering it to him as thanks. Not that he needs it. He obviously doesn't. But it's the thought that counts, right? It's the action that counts. This is stuff that is important to me. This is stuff that if I've worked for, this is part of what I've earned. But I've done it with the Lord's blessings. And so because of that, and because I am here existing, and I am his son or his daughter, I'll set this stuff aside. I'll set this stuff aside and give it to him in the manner that he asked for, to let him know that I care, that I'm thankful, that I love him, and that I care. And then it shows others that you do it as well, because we all kind of feed off that kind of energy. You know, uh, we talk about silent professionals and people who just go about their work, and that's great. And a lot of times that work stands on its own, but that's because people are paying attention, and that you just do the stuff out in the open because not because you're trying to, but just because that's the way it's done. People see what you do, and they can feed off that positive energy. The same thing way is that they can tear themselves down if they're surrounded by negative energy. So it's good. It's good for the community. Offerings for unintentional sins. Now, if you as a community, unintentionally fail to keep any of these commands the Lord gave Moses, any of the Lord's commands to you through him, from the day the Lord gave them and continuing through the generations to come, and if this is done unintentionally, without the community being aware of it, then the whole community is to offer a young bull for a burnt offering as an aroma pleasing to the Lord, along with its prescribed grain offering and drink offering, and a male goat for a sin offering. The priest is to make atonement for the whole Israelite community, and they will be forgiven. For it was not intentional, and they have presented to the Lord for their wrong a food offering and a sin offering. So, hey, sorry, mate, right? We as a community, we think we're doing something right. Turns out we realize we're doing something wrong. What do we do? Sorry about that. Here's something as a token of my apology. The whole Israelite community and the foreigners residing among them will be forgiven because all the people were involved in the unintentional wrong. But if just one person sins unintentionally, that person must bring a year-old female goat for a sin offering. The priest is to make an atonement before the Lord and for the one who erred by sinning unintentionally. And when atonement has been made, that person will be forgiven. One and the same law applies to everyone who sins unintentionally, whether a native-born Israelite or a foreigner residing among you. Hey, we got equality. And everybody talks about how hate-filled the Old Testament is. Y'all don't really understand that. I don't say y'all. I'm saying y'all. I'm talking about people who like to just immediately start to cast aspersions because they read one passage somewhere by or listen to Bill Maher or somebody like him trying to say like, oh, you see this in here? Look how stupid it sounds. Look how full of hate it sounds. And they're not taking context into it. They're not understanding the family dynamic of what Judaism is at this point and Christianity, what Christianity becomes. But if anyone who sins defiantly, whether native born or foreigner, blasphemes the Lord and must be cut off from the people of Israel, because they have despised the Lord's word and broken his commands, they must surely be cut off. Their guilt remains on them. Okay. So do something intentionally. Looks like you got to do some other stuff. You got to put some sin offerings in there. Because I'm sure that there's a path back. And I think that we've discussed that already. Things get serious in the next part. The Sabbath breaker put to death. While the Israelites were in the wilderness, a man who was found gathering wood on the Sabbath day. While the Israelites were in the wilderness, a man was found gathering wood on the Sabbath day. Those who found him gathering wood brought him to Moses and Aaron and the whole assembly, and they kept him in custody because it was not clear what should be done to him. Then the Lord said to Moses, the man must die. The whole assembly must stone him outside the camp. So the assembly took him outside the camp and stoned him to death, as the Lord commanded Moses. Because I'm sure the guy wasn't out there gathering wood going, man, it's really quiet today. Ain't nobody out here. I guess I'm the only person working on Monday or Saturday. Nope. It's Sunday or wait. So what's the Israelites? So it's oh man, it's Sunday. It's Friday. There's nobody else is out here doing work, but I'm putting my work in. No, he knew what he was doing, and that's one of the 10 commandments. It's a big one. Tassels on garments. The Lord said to Moses, speak to the Israelites and say to them, throughout the generations to come, you are to make tassels on the corners of your garments with a blue cord on each tassel. You will have these tassels to look at, so you will remember all the commands of the Lord, so that you may obey them and not prostitute yourselves by tracing after the lusts of your own heart and eyes. We know we all have them. Then you will remember to obey all of my commands and will be consecrated to your God. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord your God. As a reminder, because you always need it, that's the whole reason why we're putting these tassels on there. So that you don't do things like break the Sabbath when you know you're not supposed to. And this seems very heavy-handed, right? Guys out there gathering wood, doing some work, right? And then he said, put them to death. But what is he doing? He's out there doing it blatantly, and blatant disrespect, right? So yeah, God's making an example of you here. And they said, hey, what do we do about it? And this is kind of we see this as another first. This is the first time somebody has been caught. The assumption is here. This is the first guy getting caught breaking the Sabbath and not honoring the Sabbath and going out and doing work when he knows he's supposed to rest. And God is providing to them. Remember, we're still getting manna from heaven. We're still getting the quail, right? The so much quail they can't stand it anymore. They're still getting so many things provided to him. He doesn't need to go out to do that. He goes out there to do it for, whatever wild hair he got, and This is the punishment. This is the understanding that no, this is serious. The rules are here seriously. Don't screw around. You don't need to. We've already stoned a guy to death for taking the Lord's name in vain. With that said, we're going to change gears here. Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, or Abiram. Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Korah, son of Ishar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and certain Reubenites. What the heck does that mean? Look, I'm the son of this guy, who was the son of this guy, who's the son of this guy, and other people, other Reubenites. Sounds like suspicious people involved. Dathan and Abiram, sons of Eliab, and On the son of Peleth, became insolent and rose up against Moses. Because of course, God's striking Moses' sister down with leprosy. Aaron's two sons die in front of him. These are people that are very close to the inner circle, right, of God, very close to Moses. So, what nothing will probably happen to you, right? Idiots. Like all the guys who already left and said, hey, you know what? We're going to go in and go into the valley, even though or go up onto the hill, even though God told us not to. And we weren't allowed to do it anymore because we broke faith with him, because we got to wander these 40 years. And all of those guys died. No, they're going to do it. Just them, and with them were 250 Israelite men, well-known community leaders. Were they community organizers? Kind of sounds like it. People who are upsetting the status quo, and this is not an evil status quo. This is a status quo established by God, right? With them were 250 Israelite men, well-known community leaders who had been appointed members of the council. They came as a group to oppose Moses and Aaron and said to them, what are you going to complain about? What are you bitching about? You have gone too far. The whole community is holy, every one of them, and the Lord is with them. Why then do you set yourselves above the Lord's assembly? Where is this coming from? When Moses heard this, he fell face down. Then he said to Korah and all of his followers, in the morning the Lord will show who belongs to him and who is holy, and he will have that person come near him. The man he chooses will cause him to come. He will cause to come near him. You, Korah, and all of your followers are to do this. Take censers. Let me scroll down and find out what that world that is. What is a censor? I don't know what the censors is. Take censers, and tomorrow put burning coals and incense. Oh, so some sort of container. Put burning coals and incense in them before the Lord. The man the Lord chooses will be the one who is holy. You Levites have gone too far. Reversal. No, you've gone too far. I don't know what's gotten into Korah's head, but dude doesn't have. People don't have a good track record going up against this. Moses also said to Korah, now listen, you Levites. Isn't it enough for you that the God of Israel has separated you from the rest of the Israelite community and brought you near himself to do the work at the Lord's tabernacle and to stand before the community and minister to them? He has brought you and all your fellow Levites near himself, but now you are trying to get the priesthood too. It is against the Lord that you and all your followers that banded together. Who is Aaron that you should grumble against him? What's the meme with the puppet looking sideways? Aaron's done some stuff. Literally 2 or 3 chapters ago, Aaron's grumbling about Moses and trying to talk bad about him behind his back. This is interesting. He's talking about the Levites. The Levites get a lot of benefit. We were talking about this last night. A lot of fringe benefits the Levites have, but they got a lot of responsibility. And they're getting a little uppity about it, it sounds like. That's not a good spot to be because, God holds you in high esteem and high regard because he's got high expectations for the Levites. That means when you blatantly disregard those expectations, what's going to happen? Then Moses summoned Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, but they said, "We will not come. Isn't it enough that you have brought us up out of a land flowing with milk and honey to kill us in the wilderness? And now you also want to lord it over us. Moreover, you haven't brought us into a land flowing with milk and honey or given us an inheritance of fields and vineyards. Do you want to treat these men like slaves? No, we will not come." Oh, so now we know what the problem is. Now we know what all the grumbling is about. These folks are pissed off because they wanted to believe that they couldn't get into the promised land because of the Canaanites and the Jebusites and the otherites all being giants and Nephilim born or whatever. They believed that instead of believing in God. And they grumbled and they rose up and they went after Moses. And so God said, because of your faithlessness, you're not going to be in the wilderness. You're not going to be into the promised land. You said it was better if you died in the wilderness. Guess what? Now you're going to. Your kids, on the other hand, they're not going to get plundered. They're going to do the plundering, but you're not going to be there with them. And so the super salty community leaders who thought so much of themselves are now put out. And they got a bunch of egg on their faces because people in the community are probably looking at them in a similar way. Because look, you're the community leader. You should have calmed us down when we were afraid and told us, "Hey guys, God's got this, right? God's got it. So just put your faith in him. We'll get through this. We're gonna beat up those Canaanites." But no, you didn't. You lost faith along with everybody else. So God put it on you. And now you want to blame Moses and say it's because of him and he's uppity. Yeah, I'd be a little angry too, just like Moses is getting ready to be. Then Moses became very angry and said to the Lord, "Do not accept their offering. I have not taken so much as a donkey from them, nor have I wronged any of them." Looking at God, don't look. I'm had enough of these people. I've had enough of these ones in particular. Normally, I'm complaining about the whole group, but tonight it's just these people because they're saying that they're bearing false witness. We just had somebody break one of the commandments, and what happened to him? Stoned. And now these guys are bearing false witness because they know Moses isn't doing any of this stuff. So Moses said to Korah, "You and all your followers are to appear before the Lord tomorrow." Yeah, Dad wants you. Dad said, come upstairs and talk to him. "You and they and Aaron, each man is to take a censer and put incense in it, 250 censers in all, and present it before the Lord. You and Aaron are to present your censers also." So each of them took his censer, put burning coals and incense in it, and stood with Moses and Aaron at the entrance to the tent of meeting. I'm pissing my pants at this point if I'm not Aaron or Moses. If I'm Aaron, I might be a little nervous too. Because we've said Aaron's just screws up left and right. When Korah had gathered all of his followers in opposition to them at the entrance to the tent of meeting, the glory of the Lord appeared to the entire assembly. Uh-oh. He's here for everybody. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Separate yourselves from this assembly so that I can put an end to them at once." No! You two, leave us. Get away. Get away. I don't want you accidentally getting hit with this can I'm about to open up. But Moses and Aaron fell face down and cried out, "Oh God, the God who gives us breath to all living things, will you be angry with the entire assembly when only one man sins?" Then the Lord said to Moses, "Say to the assembly, move away from the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram." Moses got up and went to Dathan and Abiram and the elders of Israel who followed him. He warned the assembly, move back from the tents of these wicked men. He's probably saying this. He's probably saying this with that 1,000-yard stare because Moses has seen some stuff. Moses is like, move back from the tents of these wicked men. Don't touch anything that belongs to them, or you will be swept away because of all of their sins. And if I'm part of that assembly, I'm like, oh man, how big of a bullet am I missing because of Moses and Aaron right now? So they moved away from the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Dathan and Abiram had come out and were standing with their wives, children, and little ones at the entrance to their tent. What are you using them as hostages? Don't. Then Moses said, "This is how you will know that the Lord has sent me to do all of these things, and that it was not my idea. If these men die a natural death and suffer the fate of all mankind, then the Lord has not sent me. But if the Lord brings about something totally new, and the earth opens its mouth and swallows them with everything that belongs to them, and they go down alive in the realm of the dead, then you will know that these men treated the Lord with contempt." As soon as he finished saying all this, the ground under them split apart, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them and their households and all those associated with Korah, together with their possessions. They went down alive into the realm of the dead with everything they owned. The earth closed over them, and they perished and were gone from the community. At their cries, all the Israelites around them fled, shouting, "The earth is going to swallow us too." You better get back. And fire came out from the Lord and consumed the 250 men who were offering the incense. Oh, you didn't get away with it anyway. But your family lived. Your family lived. And the Lord said to Moses, "Tell Eleazar of Aaron, the priest, to remove the censers from the charred remains." From the charred remains. This is serious. But again, we're talking about open rebellion to God. "Tell Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, to remove the censers from the charred remains and scatter the coals some distance away. For the censers are holy." Oh, man. Clean that stuff off. I don't want any of their filth all over my censers. "The censers of the men who sinned at the cost of their lives. Hammer the censers into sheets to overlay the altar, for they were presented before the Lord and have become holy. Let them be assigned to the Israelites." The godly way and fatherly way of posting heads on spikes to warn off other people. Get off of my property. How about don't disrespect me? I am the Lord Almighty. So Eleazar the priest collected the bronze censers brought by those who had been burned to death, and he had them hammered out to overlay the altar, as the Lord directed through Moses. This was to remind the Israelites that no one except a descendant of Aaron should come to burn incense before the Lord, or he would become like Korah and his followers. The next day, the whole Israelite community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. "Why don't y'all listen? Why don't y'all learn y'all's lesson?" I mean, literally the next day. The next day. The next day. The whole Israelite community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. "You've killed the Lord's people," they said. Excuse me. Yeah, Moses and Aaron torched 250 men all at once and caused the earth to open up. I wonder when in the past has something like that happened where you see huge acts of nature happen and at the expense of the bad guys. Oh, that's right. When Moses was in Egypt, when Moses parted the Red Sea, when Moses did literally everything because of God had told him. The whole reason y'all followed him in the first place. But when the assembly gathered in opposition to Moses and Aaron and turned toward the tent of meeting, suddenly the cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord appeared. Then Moses and Aaron went to the front of the tent of meeting, and the Lord said to Moses, "Get away from this assembly so that I can put an end to them at once. And they fell face down. Look, he's like, all right, we did this yesterday. You know how this is going to go. Get away from them. Then Moses said to Aaron, take your censer and put incense in it, along with burning coals from the altar, and hurry to the assembly to make atonement for them. Wrath has come out from the Lord. The plague has started. The plague. And this is not a plague like what we talk about with COVID. This is talking about like an actual plague. People talk about certain coofs being being a sign from God. I don't know about that. When God puts a plague into action, it's a gnarly one. It ain't a 98%, 99 point whatever percent survival rate. It's the one where you're gonna get deaded, and you're gonna be in a lot of pain. Wrath has come out from the Lord, the plague has started. So Aaron did as Moses said and ran into the midst of the assembly. Probably waving that thing around. Look at me, look at me. The plague had already started among the people, but Aaron offered the incense and made atonement for them. He had a rack of ram ribs, probably, burning. He stood between the living and the dead. The plague stopped, but 14,700 people died from the plague immediately. In addition to those who had died because of Korah, then Aaron returned to Moses at the entrance to the tent of meeting, for the plague had stopped. We'll learn their lessons. Again, people were pretty brain dead, to be honest. Yeah, exactly. How do you not see that? I mean, that's what I said. They've got to be extra salty that they were right on the precipice of being able to go into the promised land, and because of their own actions, they end up getting basically banished from there, banished and condemned to wander around with only the hope that their children will be able to see that, and their children won't see it until they're adults. I mean, we're talking about 40 years here, right? And what do? They rise up. They get beat down. Or we'll start off. The first ones who said, no, we're going to go in there anyway. Doesn't work out well for them. Then another one goes, well, let's blame Moses for it. Bad things happen. And then finally, the whole community comes out and says, why did you kill those guys? Why did you think? We have commandments. We have these rules. We're not even a month or two removed from establishing all this. This was said we were reading this a few chapters at a time, but we are not that far away from, we might be a whole book from Leviticus and all that stuff getting established, but we're still basically in the same time. Of course this stuff has happened. Of course this happened to you. What did you think was going to happen? God turned Lot's wife into a pillar of salt because she turned around to watch what was happening to Sodom or Gomorrah. What do you think is going to do if you start? I don't get this. I don't get these Israelites. Again, when God tells Moses, I'm going to send you out with the people, or I'm going to send an angel to travel with you guys because I'm pretty sure I'll just kill all of you or all of them, because he's not killing Moses. He loves Moses. He loves all of them, but he is just absolutely, literally are trying God's patience, a man with infinite patience. And he's showing them very human, like relatable emotions. God made us in his image. All the different ranges of emotions that we feel are things that I think that he feels. I mean, you think about stuff that is not exactly wholesome, like jealousy. What does God call himself? I am a jealous Lord. I do not want to see you worshiping other people, other entities, these false gods and deities. Made us in his image. Not because we've got noses and ears and arms and legs. No, he made our souls in his image. I don't know what these Israelite souls are made out of, but because it's doesn't seem very kosher to me. Then Aaron returned to Moses at the entrance of the tent of meeting for the plague had stopped. So we ended up there. So we're going to end there because that's a long couple of chapters, and I was late starting. We're at 45 minutes, which is around what we do. So there we are with there we are with what has happened, and we have seen over the last couple of chapters of Numbers all sorts of people just getting sideways and stupid, and I don't understand it. I don't understand it. The Israelites are have infinite blessings, right? But again, so do we. Now we've been given this grace. It's up to us to take hold of it. So on us to help each other out of it. Like I tell my kids, we succeed together, we fail together. When one goes down, we help them up. When many go down, the one good picks us all up. We work together because at the end of the day, we all want to be getting in heaven together. Try to establish that. That's not just a family thing. That's not just a thing that runs through your blood. That runs through the faith. That runs through the faith. Yeah, I don't know who's worse, the Christians today or the Israelites back in the day. I think it's different. I don't think it's like because again, what we say, the Israelites. This isn't a faith issue with the Israelites. They see God like He's coming down and appearing to them, and so it's not a question of faith. It's just to me, it's either hubris, stupidity, a mix of the two, whatever. With Christians today, I think it's all self-centeredness. I think so much of it is self-centeredness. Like we can look at the different aspects because if you look at the traditional church, we're not talking about a modernized church where all the rules are getting changed. But if you look at the traditional church and things that have pushed people away from Christ, what has it been? Clickiness, looking down at other people. How long have you been? Has your family been going to this church? This, that, or the other. The very almost creating the caste system within the church of how important are you, how important am I, making it a social club more than a place of worship, more than a place of healing. Let me show you how much I donate. That a pastor one time, he talked about made a comment about the young girl with who would bring her coins, a roll of coins in because she wanted to give to the given the offering. And when the plate came, she would clink them one at a time in there because she wanted everybody to know how much she was giving. And we look at it as a child and it's innocent, but we said, how much of that do we have people who act like children because they want attention? They want everybody to know how much they're giving. So we have that, right? And then we can talk about the modernizers, the ones who don't want to be held accountable for the rules that have been set for them. And so they decide, well, we need to change it, right? Because we don't want to be bigots, we don't want to be haters, we don't want to be pushing everything. God loves everybody. Yes, God loves everybody. He doesn't always love our actions. In fact, oftentimes he doesn't like our actions. But he loves us in spite of that. But he's not going to accept it, at least I don't believe. He's going to accept it if we choose to wrap ourselves up in that sin, as opposed to try to wrap our and withstand God's love for us, as opposed to wrapping ourselves up in faith in Christ and trying to ward off as much of our sin as possible. It's to me it's reversing things. It's upside down. It's really stupid. But um we it all comes down to the same thing. God gives us specific instructions. The Israelites follow them. They understand what the rules are, and they follow them to a T. They either follow them or they don't. We're trying to change the rules. So that's a very good. To me, that's a good philosophical question. So philosophical question. It's a great discussion topic. If I can get a panel on of people, we could talk about it because it's very very interesting. Because again, if you're an Israelite back in these times, you do not struggle with the faith that we struggle with today. I'm not. If I'm an Israelite, I'm not going to bed at night with with something nagging in the back of my head saying, um, "Are you sure you're right about this? What if you're not? What if you're wrong? What if you're wrong?" You don't, God isn't as blatant, obvious as he was back then. He was very much a centerpiece, literally the centerpiece. I can only imagine. It's taken for granted. It's something that Israelites took for granted, and I think that we, on the other hand, take our salvation, take the sacrifice of Christ for granted, for better, for worse. And again, it's something we all do. We take it for granted, but the difference is between, I think, what is a good person, a good Christian, what is a bad Christian, is understanding your own flaws and where you do, and saying, "Hey, I've got this issue, and I need to work on it. I need to consistently get better at it. I need to lean on my fellow Christians and be a rock for them when they're having their struggles." Versus the person going, "It's okay to be whatever it is you want to be because God loves you." It's kind of like the healthy at any size. We all know that's stupid, and that's all modernization is the healthy at every salvation with any behavior. Miss me with that bullshit. All right, guys, closing up shop for tonight. Tomorrow night we have Dr. Vaughn Mancha coming on to talk about genetics, epigenetics, and some newer takes on genetics and uh, the evolution of the world, and how we're pushing back on Darwin's evolutionary theory, which has been been criticized for many years, even within scientific circles, for the last few decades. But also, it's something that a lot of atheists hold on to as somehow evidence, because if you don't believe in an old Earth, there can't be any God. Stupid. It's another stupid, very myopic way of looking at things. So we'll see what Dr. Mancha has to say, and hopefully that will be enlightening. Hopefully it won't be dry, and he has some very interesting points and discussion points on it. So with that said, everybody, get some rest, be safe, God bless, and good night, everybody.